to offer up a little guided meditation on primarily lungs because they're the yin organ. So it's doing all the storage for you. Um, and then you get to meet yourself. You get to meet Lao Tzu. You get to meet the great Chinese medicine doctors that live within you. Cozy yourself in. Also, highly recommend heat pads if you got that. So allow yourself to arrive. That may mean a deeper breath out, a fuller breath in, and just really sense into your back. Notice the hip bones, the low spine, the mid, the upper. Maybe wiggle your toes or your fingers. You might even adjust yourself for a pillow or your blanket. And then if the mind still feels busy, like thinking about the day or maybe thinking about kids, whatever it is, just acknowledge that. Just thank that thought for coming in. And then on your next exhale, I invite you to just blow it away like a cloud. Just really setting down, non-attachment. And as you inhale, imagine your lungs. Can you take a fuller breath in and a more expansive breath out? I invite you to notice. Can you breathe so big that you track the breath through the bronchial tubes, into the bronchi, into the alveoli, where there are thousands of miles, tiny air sacs engaging in gas exchange. Each time you breathe in, you are balancing your body's pH system. You're giving cells, red blood cells, oxygen that they haven't had yet in this moment. Each breath in helps to repair air sacs or cilia. And each breath out, you are naturally letting go of toxins, chemicals, carbon dioxide. You take, on average, 22,000 breaths every day. When you exhale, in a given day, you release water, fluid into the air around you. In a given day, you will take in 11,000 liters of air. Notice how magical, intuitive, emotional it is to breathe in, swell up, hold on, take another breath in, even pausing at the top, finding that edge, and notice that moment of trust as you exhale, knowing the next breath will come again. As you inhale, maybe you even imagine each of the rings of your windpipe. If you haven't done so yet, maybe you place both hands on your right lobe, on your left lobe, and just really feel how your chest cavity expands on your breath in, maybe working to an 8 count, and how each breath out is the collapse of worlds, the collapse of billions of particles. Each breath in, you are the creator. Each breath out, you allow destruction, the letting go, the grief of anew, again and again and again. In just a moment, you'll hear my voice fade into the background, and I invite you to notice the boundaries and borders of the inhale and the exhale. That very breath separates the earth element that is the physical body, creating separation so that you can create new life with each inhale and let go, release the stillness that your body is done with. Allow yourself a deeper breath in. Allow yourself a fuller breath out. The words associated with lung, respiration, non-attachment. Words associated with the colon, letting go. Let go. Let go. I'll invite you to take your hand, placing it on the abdomen. And I'll invite you to notice the colon. Notice how there's an ascending colon and a descending colon on the left. Notice your body's natural intelligence to separate, to decide what is waste, what is fluff, what is unnecessary, and what is nutritious in your life. We don't just ingest food, we ingest people, we ingest places, we ingest emotions. Emotions do not live in the brain, they live in the entire ecosystem. Your intestines asks you, what do you let go of? Where do you draw a line? Where do you assert boundary? Because you know it doesn't serve you. And as you breathe in to this 5-foot knowing, on the exhale, see if you can't just allow the breath to take you through letting go. Letting go. Invite in a fuller breath in, a deeper breath in. And just like a blade, a sword, allow the exhale to release. The sphincter cuts off the things you're done with. You'll hear my voice go to the background. Your breath, your inner teacher, your inner cosmology, your inner forest, your inner earth, your inner metal will now come to the foreground. Allow yourself a bigger breath in and a fuller breath out. And as we transition, I invite you to notice how in nature, streams, water is often held by a dam. That dam is structure, boundary, because without the structure of the dam, so much water would flood all of the crops. The lungs exhale out water. Your plants drink that water and carbon dioxide. Lungs create boundary, structure. Without structure, all the water would flood the crops. Without allowing new water to come in through rain, hydrolysis, there would be no water for plant life. Metal creates structure. Metal creates boundary. Without structure, there would be no organization, no separation between water on earth, land on earth. Metal tells water, stay there, hold on. Water tells earth, you may grow, you may sprout. Growth tells fire, use my excess. Use my excess. Let me nourish you. Fire tells earth, I'll keep you warm, in motion. I'll help you rotate. Moving on an axis so different seasons get sunlight. Move away from the sun. Move towards winter. Earth spins, and metal tells earth, where do you need structure? Separation. Boundary. I'll invite you to take a big breath in. And allow your breath out to be a prayer, a thank you, by offering up water to the living entities, plant life in your space. If grief comes up, allow it. It's natural. It's healthy. Grief is simply love. It's simply the caverns carved out by structure that now have more room for love. This is nature. This is your body. You are a microcosm of the macro in the most scientific ways possible, in the most spiritual ways possible. Begin to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Begin to yawn, stretching your jaw, your mastoid. Maybe you yawn. Slowly, slowly, like an ancient earthworm, just crawling, rolling to one side, making your way back to the space. Welcome back, welcome home. This is all embodiment. Some guided meditation. This is mindfulness-based counseling. This is transpersonal counseling. It's the study of self in our ecological context. So I'm going to give you a few minutes just to journal. Let's just do a free write for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to drop some questions for you. So in this first part, just what came up? What did you discover journeying in your own body? What did you discover? And you might be like me, being like, oh man, I totally forgot my journal. You can pop up and grab it. Also, while I was pulling out my books before this, the sheet of paper fell out. And the sheet of paper is actually from one of my good friend's funerals last fall. So again, the synchronicity, the circles of grief, all the songs that we sang just fell out. Grief. And actually, I think it's just a reminder that one of the best things we actually can do for grief if we're experiencing it. Any guesses? I mean, I could give you herbs we can take too. Magnolia is really good for the lungs. Senna leaf is really good for the intestines. But more than anything, it's singing. Singing is the best thing we can do to nourish our lungs. So if anything came up for you, just make sure you sing. It's really good lung health. All right, I will allow us 5 minutes to journey, and journal, and I'll be dropping a question in the chat. All right, so I just dropped some questions for you. I pulled them from the ether. And the first one is, where does your metal need to express a border or a boundary? Where do you need to express your metal? And mind you, in Chinese medicine, we don't distinguish between food, people, places, clients, work. Where does your metal need to express a border or boundary? Because when we look clinically, for example, for me, I don't like working past 6. Good thing this isn't work for me. This is fun. But with clients, I don't like working late. And I notice that if I work late, it creates a toxic buildup for me because then I'm thinking, oh, there's littles to take care of, there's family, there's dinner, and it creates an imbalance. And so a border might even just be like, what time do you end clinically? No, a border can also be found in nature. Let's think about metal. We see metal is also the conduit. Metal is what we use to encase fire. That's how all of our electrical cords work. Without that encasing of metal, we would burn stuff. It'd be quite dangerous. And that's why they put a lot of the metal rods underground now. So, where in nature do you see metal putting other elements in its place? Fire, containment. Let's wrap that up. Water. If there's not a dam, everything's going to flood. We need to separate earth and water, especially if we're thinking about our ancient human histories of growing our own food, raising our own food, living in communities. These elements become a lot more accessible. And then this last one, you don't have to do all 3, but how are you? How are you with letting go? Is there anything in your home that you like are like, oh, I couldn't do without? This could even be your morning cup of coffee or 3. If someone's like, don't have your coffee, you'd be like, oh, no, I'm good at letting go, but not my coffee. So real talk, like, where are you clinging? If your house were to burn down in a fire, what would you go back for? For me, it's actually the I Ching, the one I've read like 100 times. I'd go back for that copy. But if it burned down, I could let it go. How are you with letting go? So, the questions we're outlining here, I hope, are just starting points. And I hope that after the call into tomorrow, you continue to reflect of where do I see metal in nature? And it could even be just if you notice when we wear rings, it's often gold, silver. That's a signifier. It's significant, and we put a gemstone on it. Again, the gemstone itself and the ring are about metal. And in ancient times, when we had blacksmiths, they would forge metal in fire because fire controls metal. We'll talk about the control and generating cycle tomorrow. But when we look at that, it's a very huge symbol of loyalty, of a promise, of a boundary or a limit. And as humans, we literally wrap those around our fingers. And all of our fingers correspond to channels or acupuncture points, as well as planets, depending on the cosmology system we're in. And if you look at not the middle finger, but this finger that we traditionally use to wear rings, that's actually the heart channel and pericardium. So we literally put metal around fire in our own bodies saying, I commit to you. So when I ask the question of where do you see metal, you might be like, oh, I see it on the table. But I want you to really get big with how are these metaphors really impacting us?